Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm 25 years old. My story is about when I got a good job, and because that job was in another city, I decided to leave my family and move there. When I arrived in that new city, I rented an apartment and set up my new life there. Life was going well, and I was successful at my new job. I had many colleagues at work, but one of them in particular, whose name was Kevin, happened to pay a little bit too much attention to me. He began to bring me an extra cup of coffee if he was getting one for himself, and he helped me when I had a lot of work to do. Little by little, I figured out that Kevin was interested in me. It was on that same day that I noticed another colleague was looking at me, and his attention to me was a little unusual. This other colleague's name was Brad. Once, when Kevin brought me a cup of coffee and left, I suddenly saw Brad was coming to me with a piece of homemade cake. Brad said that he baked the cake himself and that he loved baking. Having two colleagues paying attention to me at the same time was interesting, but things started to change. A few days later, when Kevin brought me a cup of coffee as usual, Brad shared his raspberry cake with me as well. They were looking at each other angrily, and their reaction was just so funny to me. They continued bringing coffee and homemade cakes as well as other snacks until Brad brought 2 movie tickets one day and asked me to go to a movie theater with him. I accepted immediately because I hadn't been to the movies for a while. It was a romantic movie. We were eating popcorn and watching the movie when suddenly someone offered me a drink and asked, "Oh, are you here too?" When I looked up, I saw Kevin sitting next to me with a fake smile on his face. Now Brad's face was flushed with anger. The day after, it was Kevin who asked me to go to an amusement park, and this time it was Brad who happened to see us by accident. The competition between Kevin and Brad was becoming so uncontrollable and such a nuisance in my workplace that I was eventually called in by my manager, and I was given a warning. After the manager's warning, I decided to invite both of them to my house and say my final words. The day they came to my house, I asked them to stop this game at the workplace and stay away from me, because my whole life was just going up in flames. Both of them got upset and their eyes filled with tears. I eventually got impatient with waiting and asked them if they had any resolution. I couldn't have 2 boyfriends at the same time. Could I? Brad suddenly became silent. He thought a little and then said, "Why not try living together, Rachel? That could solve the problem." Kevin, who wasn't upset anymore, also agreed and said that we would never be unhappy again. So all 3 of us would be better off living together. I was really overwhelmed and told them that it was impossible for me to accept such a thing. Finally, because I couldn't resist their begging and pleading, I finally agreed that they could move into my house. Thus, we began our strange new life. Life was different now. We were having breakfast together, we were leaving for work together, we were having lunch together, we were coming back and having dinner together, but we wouldn't sleep together. I was supposed to take turns and sleep with one of them every other night, so we were all more satisfied. Sleeping one night by Kevin and one night by Brad. Of course, I was sleeping alone sometimes because I was tired of both of them. My mother called me one day and told me that my brother was getting married. I was so happy to hear this news, but when I thought a little bit more, I remembered that I had 2 boyfriends too. If it was just one boyfriend, then I could introduce him to my family, but now it wasn't possible. When I explained everything to my boyfriends, they got so happy and insisted on coming with me. I refused and got on the plane and flew away as soon as possible. When I sat on the chair and the plane started to fly, I suddenly realized that the two men who were sitting next to me were Kevin and Brad. Thus, I had to go with my boyfriends to my mom's house. I told them they couldn't do anything that would make my family suspicious. I also told my mom that they were my coworkers and that they were just really hoping to see our city. My mother, of course, accepted the story with a little doubt. The wedding ceremony was done and we enjoyed our time there. My mom liked the boys so much that one day she told me, "I wonder why you don't choose one of these coworkers as a boyfriend." Poor Mom didn't know what was going on between us already. She was thinking of how naive her daughter was. In short, it was so much fun, and after a while we returned home and restarted our shared lives. Again, breakfast, work, dinner, watching TV, and finally, sleeping. One night at the dinner table, Brad said, "What if all three of us sleep together tonight and make it a little different?" Kevin and I looked at each other with surprise. Kevin's answer was positive. I also decided it might be different somehow. Kevin said, "Yeah, not bad. Let's try it." That was how we went to bed together that night. This sleeping procedure continued and became a routine. Until one morning, when I woke up, I noticed that Kevin and Brad were not in bed. I went to the kitchen and saw them having breakfast together. When I asked them why they didn't call me, Kevin said they didn't want to bother me. It was weird. They were usually competing to have breakfast with me. At work, I also noticed that Brad kept going off to help Kevin. It was weird because both of them were always so eager to help me. This strange behavior continued in the following days. It was definitely something I was unaware of until one morning when I woke up and was confronted with a strange scene. Brad and Kevin were hugging each other while they were in a deep sleep. Now, I was sure something was happening between these two guys. I asked them about it during breakfast. Kevin said that they were planning to tell me the truth, but it wasn't the right time. These nights that three of us had slept together made us realize that we're gay, and we're interested in one another, he said. My eyes were full of surprise. These two that were so much in love with me that they couldn't get separated from me for a single moment, now had fallen in love with each other. Brad confirmed what Kevin was saying, and alleged that they were planning to live together and hopefully leave my house soon, and they hoped I wouldn't be upset. They collected their stuff on the same day and moved. When they left, I was thinking to myself that this might be one of the most important things I've done in my life, and it was that I'd helped my boyfriends realize that they'd been wrong for so long, and that they were actually gay. After they left, I got a little depressed, but slowly I was back to my normal life and my spirits got better. I was going to work as usual. I was going shopping and watching movies. After a year or so, another guy came into my life and started a good relationship with me. I decided to be wiser this time. I pushed myself to get to know my man better. Now I'm fine. I got married to my new boyfriend, and he's my husband. I saw Kevin and Brad after a while, though. It turns out they had a good life together. I wish them happiness, too. Now, as I'm writing my story for you, my little girl has been born, and our family has become warmer than ever before. I want to teach my daughter how to make values for herself, and to not get into any kind of relationship too easily. Well, that was my story, and I hope I've been able to help you guys with expressing my experience. Even if it can only help a little, that would mean a lot to me. Be happy wherever you are, and goodbye.